It's 10 minutes fast. No. What? The chime's off. It's 5 minutes slow, but the chime's off. Hello and welcome to November 28th. It's Thanksgiving and I am very angry. I wake up and my body's in pain, my lips are tingling and I can't feel my toes. I have a sore in the gluteal region. I shouldn't say a sore, an ache. Like something's pressuring it and my shoulders are in pain. There's a man eating something in the backyard. The kids at school don't know what parcheesi is. This pen writes in purple ink. Today's show brought to you by Lidl brand instant coffee. And more on that. Today we're talking about this movie. Oh, you can't see this, but I am putting my foot up high on a nightstand very casually. Talking about this movie. Bagdad Cafe. Ho ho ho! What to say about Bagdad Cafe? I first saw this movie sitting on the shelf in a Goodwill. And I picked it out. And it had this person's name scribbled on it and there. If you know Gomez Plata, slap them in the face for me. Write your name on like this, you know, on the side or something, not right on the cover. Bagdad Cafe, it was actually at Goodwill for a number of visits I'd swung by, but I never actually got it because, I don't know, it looked really strange, like maybe not something I would care about. And then eventually I was just like, okay, I'll get it. Never heard of it, you know, that whole thing. There's something else on my mind. What was it? I wanted to talk about something before I got into this. I don't remember. Darn it. It was worthwhile. It had sustenance. I've been looking into dumb phones again. I was always not always, but I was a dumb phone user for like 3, 4, 2, I don't remember, some number of years, and it was bliss. It was harmonious. It was peaceful. I was a nicer person, a better person, and people loved being around me. Ever since I started using a smartphone again, I constantly get messages from people that just say, "You're a piece of shit. We don't like you." And I don't get it. It's literally just because I started using a smartphone again. It's not even my fault. I started going to higher education. First day of class, they're like, "Okay, use your smartphone to answer this question." It's literally like, you need technology to be able to do higher education. It's so classist. And yeah, they do have like technology rental options, but it's like day rentals. It ain't the same. Systems against people that don't want to submit to technology and all that. I mean, I just don't want a smartphone. Like, no good comes from it. But I'll tell you, this is where they get you. I've used so many dumb phones over the year in the quasi-modern era, and they are terrible. Like, just, you'd think that with all the technology we have, we could make this like flip phone or a slide phone or just a palm phone, whatever, that like does the basic functions extremely well. You'd think that we'd be able to have, like, you know, basically with all the computing, analogy wise, with all the computing we have at their advanced like MATLAB software, you think we'd be able to make just a normal basic 4-function calculator, add, minus, subtract, divide, you think we'd be able to do that perfectly. And we can. Flip phone, like, all I wanted to do, take some crappy pictures, text people fast and efficiently. Like, yeah, I can T9 text, it's great. And, like, do things, like, quickly. Like, you hit the menu button, get to the menu quickly. No lag. Doesn't have, like, weird quirks where, I don't know, it randomly powers on and tries to do, I don't know, I've had phones do wild stuff. It'll just, like, start talking to you. Or, like, group messaging. You ever have a dumb phone in the modern era? Group messaging, don't even bother. It's so dumb. Like, just make an operating system that works. But I know that there's complications with networks and all, but still. I finally found yesterday this company called Sonim, I don't know. And apparently they make a phone that group texts, like a dumb phone that group texts as well. But then you get these dumb phones out there that, like, the company's dedicated to dumb phones, and they've got this sleek, elegant looking dumb phone. And, like, it's a basic function phone. Like, all it does, call, text, maybe pictures too. And it's like $800 still. Like this thing, I think someone on the internet was talking about Punkt, Punkt. I think that's what it's called. Nice, sleek, elegant design. Like, I think it reminds me of some popular model keyboards out there that are like the keys are circular and it's very mechanical action. It kind of gives that vibe. But it's like $800. Like, I'm not paying $800 for a dumb phone. Like, this is something that we should be able to have down for like $30. You can get a track phone still for like $20, $30, but the track phone plan just ain't what it used to be. You still have to pay like $15, $30 a month for just basic text and talk, and it's limited minutes and all that. Like, I want to continue using Tello, where I pay currently $7 a month. And I want to keep that plan. You can't use 3G phones anymore. It's all whacked. The basic smartphone you can get from Tello is like $100. And I've used all these different Alcatel flip phones, and like every single one of them has like a different fatal flaw that's just like, this phone is frustrating to use. Which is great because it discourages you from using it. But whatever. The Sonim, that person on the internet was speaking highly of it, and it's reasonably priced, like $50 or something. Apparently they use part of the Android open source operating system and like adapted. I don't know. It sounds promising, but I have to see if it works with Tello because I don't want to pay more. Matter of fact, if I keep it with Tello, I could end up paying less. Because I could drop the half gigabyte of data that I'm paying for, but they're actually giving me a full gigabyte because I don't remember. Man, this instant coffee is going straight through me. I haven't even had much of it. I already pooped. Look, you can see the time. I still haven't changed the time. It's still an hour earlier than this would have you believe. It's 8:30 a.m. Oh. That'll be the thumbnail, maybe. Probably not. So yeah, Bagdad Cafe. I still feel like I had something in my mind last night. It was golden. It was golden. But alas. I read you the back. It's just a greasy spoon and It's just a greasy spoon and a rusty gas pump. But for Jasmine, who is Marianne Siegebrecht, a German housewife on holiday who's dumped her husband in the middle of the Mojave, Bagdad Cafe appears as an oasis amid the dunes. Until, that is, she checks into the cafe's ramshackle motel entangles with its bad-tempered owner. Brenda is sloppy, loud, and overworked with too many kids and no patience for strangers. Armed with a mop and a magic kit, Yasmin, she's German, transforms this desolate dump into a popular roadside attraction. Bagdad Cafe is an offbeat comedy about mismatched characters who find paradise off the beaten track. The back of this movie, like, just lays it out so clearly and concisely. Watching the movie, I had no idea what was going on at first. It seemed quirky enough that, like, I knew that they were trying to be quirky. But it was still hard to know what exactly was happening for the first bit. Because there was, I guess, a lot of superfluous stuff. And the way that this says, like, she dumped her husband, it's like they, in the opening scene, they are rallying or whatever. And there's, like, so many Dutch angles and, like, really fast, shot kind of scenes. And it just feels so wild. It felt like either, a high school film student being like, oh, this is going to be clever. Or just intentionally being really goofy. I didn't know anything about this movie going in. I didn't read the back. I do wonder, I guess, what my take would have been had I read the back beforehand. Because, like, I didn't know what was going on. Just like these two people are fighting in German. But in a really weird way, like, she's, like, sitting off in a corner, and they keep, like, flashing to, like, it seemed like different locations. They're, like, one second they're in a building, the next second they're, like, in the desert. And she doesn't dump the husband, or at least that's not how I would word it. I word it as the husband dumps her because he has a car, and she's just, like, in this, like, formal German attire, and a nice hat, and a suitcase, and she just, like, once she's dumped, she just starts walking down the Mojave Desert. And, like, expressionless. Most of the time she's just expressionless and the husband's, like, he looks worn out or whatever. Sorry, my top of this flap was tucked in a little more than I wished. This movie is so freaking quirky. It's insane. And there's some other crazy stuff. Yeah, the fact that they, like, just end this back description with, it's an offbeat comedy about mismatched characters who find paradise off the beaten track. I guess I'm glad that I hadn't read that first, because that does just, like, sum it up. Like, it is an offbeat comedy about mismatched characters who find paradise off the beaten path. Every single character in this movie is just like, oh, you're interesting. Every single one of them. And there's this picture. I don't think that this ever happened unless my film is incomplete. This is weird. Like, you've got your reel here, and when it's all done, you see the whole reel over there. When the movie was over, I still had a significant amount of stuff, like probably that much tape over here. And so I tried to, like, watch it through to the end, and it just gave me, like, to the end of the reel there, and it gave me, like, static on the screen, so I was like, whatever. And, like, credits did roll, so I guess it was over. But, like, that scene, I don't know what's going on there. I don't think I know who the shirtless guy is. I'd think that maybe he was this hiker character, but he doesn't look young enough. I don't know who that is. Beats me. And this person on the cover right here, she has, like, basically no role. This right here is Brenda. This is Rudy, and this is Yasmin. That's also Yasmin. She's beautiful. That's Yasmin. The movie's about, I would say if like we were to narrow it down, it's about Yasmin, but it's also largely, I feel, about Yasmin and Brenda's relationship and how that evolves and they become besties. It's... Y'all are gonna love this. Runtime. My recorder, I think, like on the TV when I started rewinding it, I think my VCR said that it was like an hour in. But maybe I'd started a little earlier. Yeah, I might have started earlier and removed the VHS to reset its counter. But runtime is 91 minutes. So for you hour heads, that's about an hour and a half. It's a 1988 film by Video Treasures. And it's rated PG, which is shocking to me because there's at least 2 scenes of nudity. But I guess things were different in the 80s. I don't know. And it's always Yasmin. She's a nude character. You know Germans. Yeah. It's a good movie though. So, I neglected to do this for the Chevy Chase films, and even recently when I watched Charlie's Angels and Legally Blonde, I neglected to do this. But at least for the sake of the videos, I really need to write down plot points. Oh. I was watching this late last night. I made a note about what I was gonna... The other thing that was on my mind. It was a dream. It's hardly even important. I'll talk about it anyway. We're only 20 minutes in, so we got time. There I am. In a mall, late 90s, early 2000s aesthetic. And I'm walking. And I arrive at an Apple store which doesn't fit the aesthetic. And I purchase my product and I leave. And that was about half a year ago. I was getting AirTags to put in some expensive products of mine so I could track them if they were stolen. That's not a dream. That just happened a while ago. I just remembered it. This recurring dream, I've been having some wacky dreams recently. Like very vivid, very perhaps laden with metaphor, but sometimes they're hard to recall exactly. I just told one of my friend groups the other day, one of mine? No, yeah, one of mine. Perhaps my most active friend group at the time, about this dream I had a couple times in a row, like 4 or 5 years ago, which I'm not proud or happy about the fact that I actually say like 4 or 5 years ago, and that means like 21. Like I feel like 4 or 5 years ago should be like 18. I remember when I was like 17, 18 and thinking like, when I'm 25, what will life look like? And I had thought of all these different things that like I hoped would no longer be a part of me. Like I was like, at that age I was like, man, I really hope that porn is no longer an issue in my life. And I also thought to myself like, no way, like I can't foresee this ever changing. But lo, it has. No porn in my life for quite a while now, so you can overcome. My trick was opioids. That helped a lot to take my mind off of it. Also helped me quit cigarettes, but now I've got an opium problem. Whew! Oh, man, that movie was so weird. Okay, the dream though, the dream that I told my friend group, I won't even, I won't tell in the depth that I told it to them, but it involved me I can't even go into it half-assed because they were so enthralled by the plot twists in this dream. It was a very anxious dream, and it involved myself, a depiction of like an actual homunculus, I guess, of myself, killing myself as I see myself approaching yet again to be killed. The sort of Ouroboros of like, not even suicide, but just death of self. It was weird. Recurring dream too. Dreams are so freaking crazy. I love them. The one recently though, I used to have this dream all of the time. Whoa, there's like a big old scavenger bird on the rooftop. On the roof. You can't see this. You can't see the bird. Oh. Oh. Oh, I only have 28 minutes of battery left, apparently. I hope you like Skylanders. That game slaps so freaking hard. Like, if you don't like Skylanders, you are stupid. Because it is such a good game. I just wish I still had something to play it on. And, Metabots. And that's a job, dude. Guess what's inside it? That's a, it's hard to explain. No, it's not actually that hard to explain. It's 4 clocks, mechanical clocks back when they were popular, that had chimes. That was put in shipping to like hold the chimes steady. That's a lighter. I also have a heavier somewhere. Unrelated, genuinely. I found that on the ground at church. And so I kept it. It goes to nothing. It actually didn't even work, but I realigned stuff. Glue, more Metabots. Love it or hate it. More Metabots actually over here too. And a lot more elsewhere. Oh, Long Dog. Anyway, that was a unexpected segue. My battery, I didn't realize it was so low. I literally just actually swapped out my battery before I started, because I've been on the same one for so long. And this one was dying, but apparently this one I have in here is also dead. I don't know what it was doing in my bag, acting like it was not dead, but I'll start charging this one. How about that? I hope y'all don't mind. You know, we just keep it casual here. We do what we have to when we have to. This brand, if you end up with vintage tech and you like need new batteries, I don't actually know how they say their name. I don't know if it's K-Star, but it's, or Caster even, but it's Kastar. They make reproduction like charging dock module things and batteries for so many vintage cameras, and probably a lot of other stuff. With like modern fittings, like this takes at the charging port, it takes USB-C or a mini micro USB. So like literally just anything that you have basically can fit this. And they actually have really good customer service too. Like this exact charger that I got, which I have their products for other devices too, not just this camcorder. It like tells you battery health as it's charging, super great. But this one, for whatever reason, for a brief time, well actually still, the USB-C port wasn't working to charge it. And I contacted them, this is like 2 months after I bought the product, which I buy it through eBay. I contacted them and let them know. They just sent me a new one, brand new one. Which like this still works perfectly fine with USB, the micro USB, but still they sent a new one, so great. So like good customer service too. I'm really happy with them. Definitely recommend them. Good products. So that's charging. But yeah, that wild dream I had recurring a lot in my youth, like I want to say middle and high school. And the dream was actually such as follows. I won't go into like the extreme details of every... Man, this recent iteration was so wild. But very generally, it's like I'm in a arcade. So yeah, just like how there used to be arcades everywhere. Don't know what happened. Video games got intense. But I'm in an arcade, typically alone, or maybe sometimes there's like a couple other people like playing on a pool table somewhere. But I keep looking like under machines or like a claw game or whatever. Did I mute that? It's not making sound now. Whatever. Um, and I keep finding like quarters that I guess like somebody tried to put in the machine and missed. But like I end up just finding more and more, and like behind machines I find stuff, and like there are those claw games that instead of like having a claw, they've got like a backhoe type scoop. Um, and like behind those games, I find like prizes on the ground, just like all this stuff that I saw as valuable, just lying in a slightly unseen location. Um, but yeah, like in decades ago, a decade ago, don't like being able to say that. When I would have this dream more regularly, um, like yeah, I just find a significant amount of money worth of quarters, and I'd just be like, great, like okay, let's go. Um, but I do remember there being like a compulsion almost with it, where like I can't stop, like I have to keep looking for more, and I have to find all this stuff. Um, and it's wild. And so just recently, like I hadn't thought of that dream in so long, but so many other now recurring dreams, insignificant feeling dreams to me are flooding back as they do whenever I recall dreams. I've had some very dreams that I would consider to be quite poignant. Of course, in a dream, you may experience emotions that are not necessarily prevalent, but at least the imagery, the plain imagery in some dreams that I recall, I think are like universal in the messaging. Some of just like despair and loneliness. That like, dag, why was I feeling that at this time in my life? But whatever. Um, Pretty crazy. But yeah, I just had this arcade dream again recently. But it was like modernized. Like in a sense, I knew that I was dreaming, but it wasn't like a lucid dream. Like I was like, oh, I'm doing this again in the dream. And things were different, like they had more modern games there. And yeah, I still just ended up finding a bunch of coins and was just like, this is interesting. And I think I had a friend or two with me. I can't recall exactly who it was. Um, but it was very strange. Yeah, not going into too much of the detail, even though like I've talked about this for now 10 minutes. But if you want to interpret dreams, I've looked into a little what like finding money in dreams may typically represent, but I feel like the fact that like I'm searching for it with a compulsion, and like I need to find more, some sort of anxiety in there. I don't know if there's like a specific meaning to it or what, but it's fascinating. Take your stab at dream interpretation. I've honestly never like tried to look into it too much, so whatever. Okay, we're actually going to talk about the movie now. I liked the movie. I liked it a lot. I would watch it again soon. So this is my my notes. I'll just go through my notes that I mainly just noted plot, but like yeah, we'll get in here. So it takes place largely at this truck stop, Bagdad Cafe, like for actual truckers and all that. They've got a motel, they've got a cafe, and it's cool. But it starts opening scene. These two Germans are in the car. This lady's like just acting weird. And then she gets abandoned there. This was at least my perspective without reading the back of the box. But the lady gets left. Her husband, like, they're pulled off in some like abandoned looking part, like building. And the dude's irate and like he backs up the car and just crashes into stuff multiple times and then like goes forward and crashes into stuff. It's like I don't know what's happening. He just freaking out. But this guy, he's acting like crazy, and I felt like the movie was focused on him more than the lady, because it then like shows him driving into the Baghdad Cafe and like almost hitting somebody, driving like so recklessly, almost hitting a guy that I think ends up being named Sal, but he like flies into the Baghdad Cafe, runs into the actual cafe, and asks the dude behind the counter, who's like a Native American bartender, for, in like broken English, he's German, asks for beer. And the guy's just like cleaning a glass, and he's like, we don't have beer. And then he's like, coffee. And the guy's like, we don't have coffee. And it seems like the guy, the bartender may never be named, but it seems like the vibe that I got is like, we do have coffee, but I don't want to give you any. And then some other dude that's like flamboyant looking cowboy guy. Oh man, that coffee is suddenly hitting me hard. I know the German didn't get any, but like, ooh, I'm getting the gurgles. You know that feeling? You know what I'm talking about? This like client, white dude, super tan, cowboy, but flamboyant looking, comes over and like gives the German something to drink that seemed like coffee. It was weird. And then the German pulls out a flask, and like lines on his hand, you know, like cocaine, you'd think, but it looks like dirt. Like it's just black. It just looks like dirt. And he doesn't even like, I don't know if it's because of the budget of the movie, like they wanted to make it look real, but he also didn't want to sniff dirt in. But like, so what I'm trying to get at is he did not actually like put it here and go, like all you really see on camera is him just going, you know, I'm guessing it's just they wanted to like show that he is snorting this stuff, but he didn't actually want to snort this stuff, which totally fair. I think it probably was dirt. I don't know what this is all about. But when he like he keeps reaching across the counter and grabbing the bartender and being like, good service. And he tries to pay for whatever the cowboy guy had given him, which is the cowboy guy. You can't really see him well, but it's that guy. Rudy ends up being his name. But they're like, the drink's on the house, so he doesn't have to pay. So he's like, good service. And so he like gives the bartender some of this dirt cocaine, and the guy just like puts it on the counter. And once the German leaves, Rudy and the bartender just like, they actually show this scene where like table's here, dirt's here, and both of them bring their face like right down to it, and they just examine it. It's funny. Anyway, Sal seems to be the name of this coffee shop owner, and Brenda, his wife, is like really on him for just being a terrible shop owner. Like their coffee machine is broken, and it seems like Sal keeps forgetting to get a new coffee maker. Like they maybe even have one already, but he just keeps forgetting to bring it in. So like, Sal sucks, Brenda's always yapping at him, and he just kind of like laughs stuff off. Honestly, at first I thought the German dude would be like the main character, and then like no. Then I thought maybe Sal would be the main character, but no. Yeah. So Sal's actor, I actually don't know if he was a really bad actor, or if they, like now retrospectively, if they were trying to make everything just feel disjointed and like have him just be weird. Because it felt like he was a bad actor, but it could actually just be that they were going for something. And if they were, great. Brenda, her actor at least, was really good. I will also say that the soundtrack in this movie was wild. Like in scenes with just the Germans, they'd play like this lofty kind of polka-esque beat, which you'll actually see in the scene that I've queued, which I'll get to pretty shortly here. I'll actually probably go to it more or less now, but they've got more or less, in other words, exactly right now. Just weird soundtracks for that, and then they've got, I wrote down the name of the song, It's called Calling You by Javetta Steele. I don't know if that's like... And I think the song had to have been made for this movie. But it's very eerie feeling, but also beautiful. Let me see. Yeah, it was made for... Wait, yeah. Made for this. Recorded by American R&B and gospel singer Javetta Steele. I recommend you listen to it. It's kind of beautiful. Yeah, I like it. Anyway, let's get this in here. We'll give you an action shot. Well, first, we'll turn that on. My actual entry cartridge doesn't work, so you have to push it in. There we go. Yeah, you thought we were going to use the TV that's on the table, didn't you? Nope. Yep, it's crooked, so get over yourself. This is the kind of music I'm talking about here. You see that fast clipping? And what? Like, what's going on here? A Dutch angle the whole way through. I guess maybe she does dump the husband. Yeah, she's leaving. Nothing said. Such a wacky movie. He drops his thermos. It comes up in the movie a lot. Because, oh, this is a calling out. Anyway, you'll have to listen to it on your own time. I don't want to get copy struck. Not that it's really going to do anything. I received a copy strike on some other video, and sorry, not a copy strike, just copyright notice. So like they're saying you can't monetize it, and I'm like, monetize it? What? Me and what army? Only the army of the dead, which is either in reference to SpongeBob or Lord of the Rings. So that thermos they end up having at the at Bagdad Cafe. I think Sal maybe picked it up on the road. And they fill that, they like basically do pour over into that for their coffee. It's so weird. There you go. So the cowboy, I'll call him Rudy from now on. He always is like sitting in the cafe in a corner booth, like with his feet up on the table, like spur boots, you know, the whole shabooyah, and acting cool. And he's like, coffee or whatever. I don't know. He wants coffee, and the bartender like gives him what looks honestly like a coffee pot full of just water. Like it looked like it was just water, and he's like, yes, I love this. And at some point, the bartender had given him like something that looked more like coffee, and he's like, I don't want that. kind of strange. Anyway, then like it's so disjointed in the first part. Like I can't get past the first part because it's just like everything is so hectic happening. Like one scene will happen and then something completely bizarre and like unrelated will be next. Like suddenly we're outside and Brenda, now you decide to chime? Can't make this stuff up. Well, that's going. I'm gonna wind up my other clock. Yeah, that other clock was about to die. I'll wind this one up too. Why not? Yeah, so all of a sudden we're like outside and Brenda is like picking up cans or something like that, and then or maybe taking care of an infant outside, I don't remember. Then this other child rolls up, like Brenda's daughter, on a motorcycle with some like she looks like she's 15, maybe even 14. She's on this motorcycle with this like scrawny looking biker dude who's like 50 or something, and she goes to Brendan. She's like, "Can we have money to go to a concert or something like that?" And Brendan's just like, "Here." It's like so weird. Am I okay? There's center. That's good here. No, I actually scoot back and I let the world conform to me. There we go. So yeah, that happens, and then they like ride away, and it's very confused. And like then Brenda and Sal get in a fight, and Sal's like, "I'm gonna leave," and she's like, "You better. I won't even cry for you." And then like she starts throwing crap at him, and then he leaves, and then of course she does start crying. And as she's like sitting outside of the motel crying, the German lady, Yasmin, walks up like really sweaty as well, so like they both are of moist face, and they just have this moment where they wordlessly stare at each other for an uncomfortable amount of time. And it's like, I don't know what's going on here. And then the German ends up going into, well, they both go into the motel office. Let me aim this down just a little because I'm a hand talker. Motel office. There we have it. And the German Yasmin, she's like noting how everything is like dusty, and Brenda's like, "You want to stay here? Like for how long? Can you pay?" And Yasmin's taking long to respond, and Brenda's just like, "You're really weird," and all this stuff, and it's just chaotic feeling. Then there's this bizarre scene where like in the office, Yasmin stares, like not even in just like this is a movie type feature, like she just zones out looking into Brenda's eyes, like they're intentionally making this a freakish like type of thing, and then she flashes to this vision with like blue filter over everything and like set far back of these black people, shirtless black people dancing around with like tribal paint on their back, like white line paint. Beautiful contrast. But these people like dancing around, and in the center there's like, you have a low angle so you can't necessarily see what's in the center, but it seems like some sort of elevated pool, and like out of it, arms first or something, comes Yasmin, just like, and she's fully nude. And this is just like, all of a sudden, you're just watching this movie, and she has this flash vision of like this tribal-looking ritual, and her like coming out of it nude, and it's just like, what is going on? It's just so weird. And I suppose I take it now as either as like a metaphor for like a rebirth of Yasmin, that or showing transformation, through water we change. Or perhaps that's like a way to show how she has become, she will become the center focus of Bagdad Cafe. Spoilers. We're only 45 minutes in. Spoilers. So that's wild. I was just like, what is going on right now? And Brenda, it flashes back. Brenda's just like, what you doing? Which totally valid. Anyway, she ends up in her motel room, and like weird cutscenes where like she'll be doing something in the motel, and all of a sudden it like cuts to a scene of her like in the middle of the Mojave, just like hallucinating or something, and just keeps having these visions like from the back of her. Yeah, you see the back of her hair, it's just like being blown away by wind or whatever. It's just very strange, and she's just living life. It's very odd. Anyway, now Brenda ends up at the cafe. Her husband's, sorry, not Brenda, Yasmin, the German. She ends up at the cafe. Husband's long gone at this point. She asks for coffee. Bartender says no. And then, what's his name? Rudy, the cowboy, brings coffee from a gets coffee from the thermos that was on the video that I showed. I forgot about that. And so he like Yasmin's seated, and Rudy just comes over and like brings a cup and like indicates to the thermos to say it's from the thermos, which I believe was supposed to be Yasmin's thermos. She doesn't like make any sign of recognition, at least to my recollection. I probably should rewatch it, but he indicates to the thermos, and they do this crazy thing. Like I considered having this be the scene that I show. Indicates to it, and they show a low angle of the thermos, like camera's like here. Thermos is up here, and there's like a counter here, so you can only see the top. They just like show the thermos, and the way that this thing is designed, it's like got a spout here, and like a spout, and like a lid on top, and like this little dot in the front by the spout, which there's a word like pareidolia or something like that, which is, you know, look into it yourself, but it's the word for like recognizing face patterns in just things that aren't faces, like a wall outlet, for example. You see the two lines in a mouth. But it has that effect where like the thermos looks like a face, and they're just showing the top of it, and it just goes like this. Like, here, this will be like the eyes of it. It goes like this. Like, they have the thermos just autonomously look at the people, and I'm just like, what is going on right now? Like, now we've got a animated inanimate object. Like, what is happening? And then they like show that it's a bartender moving it. It's just like, what? This is crazy. At that point, like I was just kind of struggling to follow. Well, I still was after that. I couldn't really make heads or tails of the movie, but once they pulled that bit, I was like, okay, this is actually a hilarious movie. They know what they're doing, and that's really, really funny. So that got me. But anyway, Rudy brings the coffee round, and it just looks like water, and she's like, not strong. And so Rudy starts talking with Yasmin and says, like, I'm from Hollywood, and she's kind of unresponsive. Generally, at first, she doesn't really say much. Actually, throughout the whole movie, she doesn't say much. He's like, I'm from Hollywood, and then he goes, I quote this, you know, Tinseltown? And she's like, okay, great. It was at this moment I wrote on my notes, absurd. Like, this movie just embraces absurdity. It's very bizarre. Okay, so I must have not noted some stuff. Brenda at some point goes to, like, do room service, you know, clean Yasmin's room. Complete invasion of privacy. Well, I don't know what room service people usually do, but, like, they're just showing Brenda, like, dig through Yasmin's stuff. And, like, Yasmin's got all this traditional German clothing set up, and probably, like, some of her husband's clothing as well, men's clothing. And there's something in Yasmin's room that, like, triggers Brenda and makes her literally call the sheriff. I don't actually know what it was, but it's like Brenda's kind of got a screw loose or something. But the sheriff comes, they, like, knock on Yasmin's door, although they think that Brenda left the door open, like she just like was cleaning the room, ran to call the police, and then went over and thought like, the sheriff will arrest this person. But Yasmin's back now, and the sheriff's like, do you have... he's like checking to make sure Native American dude with really long braids. Is the sheriff. Asks Yasmin if, like, she's a tourist and if she's got a round trip plane ticket, and like she checks off on everything. So the sheriff's like, Brenda, chill out. But he himself is just a little like, every character is very strange. In back with Branch. What did I write? Oh, Rudy in back with Branch. Right. So as they're like at Yasmin's door, you've got the sheriff there. To his side, you've got Brenda, just like, we'll get you, Yasmin. She's been really mean to Yasmin. Just like hates her for no good reason. Because Yasmin's been like absolutely blank slate this whole time. And Rudy's on the other side. He had picked up a branch. On Sukkot, the Jewish Feast of Tabernacles? The branch, is it like, it's not tharine or something like that, but like he's got like a bundle of branches in his hand, and he's just like moving them around in the background. It's just like, what's going on right now? It was so weird. There's this other character, this lady, I believe she's a prostitute, or a sex worker. Like whenever truckers come by, they're always like, and she's like, and there's even one scene where like a trucker pulls up, like, swings in and like flies out of the cabin like, yippee! And like bolts beeline straight for this lady, and this lady just like is always just like, sex workers, they're just like, and she, I think, only has one line in the whole movie, but she's always just like there in the background up to a point when she is not. Then we get a random scene of some trucker dude getting a tattoo on his butt, and I think the tattoo artist is like lying on a lady is lying on top of him, or like sitting on top of him, and he's just like, wah! It's really weird. Like, whatever. And then we've got this random hiker, like a young dude, like probably early 20s, maybe even late teens, that just walks in off the Mojave, short shorts and a tank top, and one of those backpacks that like goes 2 times his height. He just walks in and asks Brenda, like, can I pitch my tent here? Is his exact words. Do you mind if I pitch my tent here? And she's like, okay. And he's like, great, thank you. All right. That's done. Brenda goes away for some time. I don't remember. Oh, let me actually note real quick. Brenda's got this son. I'm not sure if he ever is named, but he's always playing the piano, like very virtuoso classical piece that's just like arpeggiated stuff over and over again. And they've just got an upright piano in the corner of the cafe. Instead of it playing it like flowing like, he goes like just plays the whole thing but extremely staccatoed, and just and it's pretty annoying, but it's like, okay, if you're practicing it and you're just getting it under your hands, and great. But that's like on and off throughout the movie. He's just always in the background playing that. Brenda goes away for some time, and Yasmin, she enters the cafe, notices that the bartender is asleep. He has a hammock right behind the bar that he's like always snoozing on. So she sneaks into a supply closet, grabs a mop and broom, and goes to the office of the motel, where there's just like oil cans and rubbish everywhere, and just cleans the whole place. And eventually Brenda gets back. I wrote here, Yasmin gets shit clean. Like, she just goes. She does a good job. Brenda gets back and flips out that, like, somebody messed with her office. Like, she's actually got a gun. She's got Rudy's rifle. And the bartender's, like, hiding behind stuff and goes, like, Brenda, did Rudy ever fix the hair trigger? It's like really sensitive, and it's just so quirky and campy, and it's like, what's going on here? And anyway, Yasmin's like, I cleaned. And Brenda's like, follow me into the office, like, we're gonna talk. And she just, like, berates Yasmin, and she's like, where did you put all the stuff? Like, this is an office. How can I work if it's like this? Clean. I need it to be dirty to work. Which, like, I get it. Like, you invaded my privacy. This is wrong. You're a stranger. I tried to get you deported. Whatever. And Yasmin's like, I put all of your stuff in the rubbish pile outside. I don't know what accent I'm doing here. And Brenda's like, well, bring it all back. And this is the first time that we get a scene of Sal again, Brenda's husband. And so he had left. Like, he abandoned... he was, like, happy, just, like, bliss, kind of smiling as he left with Brenda, like, berating him. He was just, in, like, a very dissociative kind of manner. And now it shows him in, like, a old, like, Barracuda or something like that. I don't remember what the car was, but some old 70s muscle car. Maybe it wasn't even a muscle car. Maybe it was like a Ford LTD. I don't remember. No, it was a nicer car. It shows him like sitting in this car that looks abandoned or something in a desert with a pair of binoculars just watching Brenda outrage. And he's just watching from a distance. And over the course of like the movie, which I'd imagine is a couple months, there's an infant that never ages. But I think that they mean to imply that it's been some amount of time. It seems like a low budget movie. But Sal, they like have many scenes where Sal's just watching from a distance. Spoiler alert, he never actually like goes back to Brenda. He's always just, no wait. Okay, he does, but they don't reconcile. He goes back to the cafe, but they never actually like show him talk with Brenda again. It's really weird. So Sal watches the outrage from a distance. The daughter, Phyllis is her name, comes back to the office at some point when it's like more clean now. I think maybe Brenda became okay with it being cleaner. Daughter comes in. She got out of the... Which instance was this? There was some time where she like got in a truck with a trucker, and Brenda's like mad at Phyllis for doing that. Totally reasonable, because it's like implying stuff's gonna happen here. And then this scene, like I think she got out of a convertible full of dudes, like 5 guys, and she's like sitting in the middle of the convertible. She like comes in rocking out to music because it's the 80s, and like just kicks her feet up onto her mother's office desk. And I actually like this bit. They show her like trying to kick her heels off with her feet, but like the first time, like as she's trying to kick her left foot off, her left shoe, it takes her like 5 attempts before she finally gets it off. And it's as she's like delivering the line. And I just feel like in a normal movie they would have reshot that to have it like be a clean just kick off of both the shoes. But I like that they had it be real. Like sometimes we don't kick our shoe off on the first attempt. That was just a little detail that I was like, huh, interesting. And now Phyllis goes to Yasmin's motel room to clean. Like she's got a vacuum cleaner. She's still listening to music, and while she's there, she too like invades privacy, goes through all of Yasmin's stuff, even actually like goes through Yasmin's closet and starts trying on clothing. And then Yasmin gets there, and Phyllis doesn't notice because she's rocking out to music, and then she notices and she's like, ah! And then we get some weird scenes. So Yasmin's more or less like, it's okay, I have weird clothing, and Phyllis is asking about the weird clothing, and they like find lederhosen or something, and Yasmin's like, yeah, it's lederhosen. And Phyllis is like, oh, I saw some show where people in lederhosen were like beating each other up, or something like that. And Yasmin's like, ah, yes, the Bavarian folk dance. And then she like reenacts this beating thing. I don't know. But then Yasmin's like, here, try on more clothing. And we get this very oddly intimate, like physically intimate scene between Phyllis and Yasmin. Like two people that there hasn't like been any connection between, but like Phyllis is putting on some like shirt or jacket or whatever, and Yasmin's like right there, like holding onto her shoulders. Actually, I think there's a time where she's like even got her hands like around Phyllis's stomach or abdomen region, and just like face cozied up against each other. It's like what is going on right now? Like very confusing. Like what is this? It's a scene from Community. Jim Rash, the dean, to Annie and Jeff in season 5, episode 6 maybe, Intergluteum Medial Studies. It's the Ask Crack Bandit episode. He looks at them and he's like, what is this? What's going on here? It's fun. So many Community quotes in my head. Community quotes. What a mumble. I'm a mumbler. A slurrer. Okay, so we've got that weird intimacy moment. And then, so this is kind of a shift into a new act of the movie where Yasmin starts to connect with people in a Bagdad Cafe. What's my battery life like? Oh, it says it's low. So every time that Yasmin up to this point has come into the cafe and the boy is playing piano, like his little staccato stuff, Brenda immediately yells at the boy. He does have a name. I forget it. It's like Brandon or something, but it's so close to, or Brendan. It's so close to Brenda though that, whatever. I don't remember. She's always yelling it, so I don't remember the name. But she always makes him stop playing, and the kid kind of resents Yasmin for that. But in this instance here, Brenda's not in the cafe. He stops playing when Yasmin comes in, and Yasmin sits down next to the piano and says like, no, keep playing. And suddenly, instead of like playing hunched and like all nervous and anxious, playing the piano like that, Brendan starts playing a little, Brendan, I don't know if his name's actually Brendan, but the kid starts playing a little more connected, these arpeggios, and then as he like looks over and Brenda's like enjoying it and just like closed eyes vibing out, he like, you know, actually suddenly puts like a lot of passion and musicality into it, and like weight on the first part of the arpeggio and flowing up to the top and back down with the release, and all this beautiful crescendo, decrescendo, and just, yeah, emotion into it. And so he's playing super passionately. Rudy, like, very awkwardly walks from his corner booth over to where the piano is, which is like the other side of the shop, and then like pulls a chair around and like does the Commander Riker chair move where he like, you know, straddles the chair backways, and it's very weird. And then like starts scooting very slowly and quietly towards the piano. And they take a lot of time to show that. But it's also an 1.5-hour movie, so like, I love a short movie. Like if I go to the movie theaters often, if the movie's over 2 hours and I'm sitting there within like the first 30 minutes, if I'm not like captivated and I know it's a plus 2-hour movie, I'm out of there. Like, don't give me some long ass movie and not like actually keep my attention, because 2.5, anything over 2 hours is a long time for me to sit in a movie theater with the frequency that I go. Like, I don't want my time to be wasted. I don't want to get to the end of the movie and be like, that was just a movie. Like if you're making a long movie, it has to be good. Otherwise, I'm gone. Don't waste my time. I like short movies that are great. I say it about books too, like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? These other books I've read by someone named Ursula or whatever, Elaine, Ursula. I don't know, I like older movies. My camera's about to die, it's beeping at me. Flashing rather. We'll see how far we get. I have another battery charging. Short movie's good. So yeah, we get kids suddenly playing piano super passionately. Brenda comes in then and like yells at the kid to stop playing, and the kid just suddenly is like, she's the only person that understands my music. So suddenly there's a connection between Yasmin and the kid. And in the same scene, Brenda like sets this infant down in front of the piano, and says something that implies that the infant is actually the kid's son. Which is like, oh, okay, didn't realize that this infant that Brenda's taking care of is actually this kid's son. And the kid seems like 16, 17. Like yeah. So that's wild. So much wild stuff in this movie. I just wrote for that, oh, baby is piano kid's son. There had been a scene where the hiker that I'd mentioned is like throwing a boomerang, and there's a water tower nearby, and he like throws it, and it goes around the water tower and comes back to him. And at some point, Phyllis had been like watching him affectionately. Now we get the resolution of that. The hiker dude is teaching Phyllis how to throw the boomerang, but doing it in like the classic "let me teach you how to do golf" way, where like you're just like big spooning and like doing all that and whatever. So that's happening, and then so they're having their little intimate moment, this random hiker and Phyllis. But then Yasmin comes out of her room, and once Phyllis sees Yasmin, she like breaks out of the hiker dude and like runs over to her and is like, "Here's a boomerang, let's boomerang." And so the three of them then have a great time boomeranging together, and like all of them are friends, so it's great. Rudy, we have this talk between Yasmin and Rudy, and Rudy's like, "Can I paint you, Yasmin? Can you come by my trailer and I paint you?" And she's like, "I thought you were an actor at Hollywood." And he's like, "No, I'm from Hollywood, but I was a set painter." Okay. And it seems oddly flirtatious, but like it's also kind of hard to tell. But yeah, he's like, "Can I paint you?" And Rudy notes how like, "Yeah, there's this painting in your room that you're staying in that I painted." And she's like, "Oh, the one of two lights." It's like actually kind of a pretty picture of like the desert with these two shining lights in the center. And he's like, "Yeah, it's some solar phenomena." I forget what he says, but it's something or another. And there was early in the movie a scene where she like stares at that and like kind of gets lost. So that's great. Yeah, it's hanging out with the... There's a scene then where Yasmin is like in Brenda's house, hanging out with both the kids, with Phyllis and Piano Boy, and like just having a good time. Oh, she's actually playing with the infant, and like they're just all hanging out. The I guess four of them: Yasmin, Phyllis, the infant, and Piano Boy. And Brenda comes in and just like rages against the machine. Like, "Get out of my house! I'm tired of you doing all this crap and like whatever. You're like coming in here acting like you own the place," which kind of fair. Then we get another scene of Sal watching from a distance, and he just goes, "Oh, Brenda." It's like, okay, like whatever's happening. Brenda storms out, ends up slamming the, like she says, she yells at Yasmin to get out. Yasmin doesn't get out, she just lies there. And then Brenda like slams the door and leaves, and then comes back and is like, "I'm sorry. You've been so nice. I'm overworked." And now they're friends. Now Yasmin and Brenda are friends. I wrote, after outburst, Brenda opens up to Yasmin, and then I write, "Everyone loves Yasmin, so she starts doing magic." She's got close-up magic that she does. Yasmin is incremental... Oh. So she starts doing, just like around the cafe, starts doing close-up magic for people. Like pulling a coin out from the ear, that kind of crap. And she's good at it. And we have like intercut with these scenes of her like doing incrementally more advanced magic, and like just montage of like being close and intimate with the people at the cafe. Intercut with her being in Rudy's trailer being painted. And at first she's like wearing her formal attire, painted. And then like we have this next cut, like Rudy's got these big canvases, and on the back is like Roman numerals showing which session it is. So like Roman numeral 1, she's like all formal. Roman numeral 2, she's like removed her outer coat. And then like Roman numeral 3, she's like got this blouse that at first is like, you know, like covered like that. And then Rudy, there's sexual tension in the air. Rudy like, no, sorry, the left side is already open, and Rudy does like, and then as he walks back to his canvas, Yasmin very quickly just goes, And then she goes, so, whatever. And then like another magic montage, and then back to another thing, and she just gets incrementally more undressed in these new paint sessions until like one of them she just very, very slowly, like painfully slowly reveals her naked breasts, at least one side. And it's just like very odd, and Rudy's just like, it's so weird. It's so freaking quirky. And then, of course, like one next scene, she's like just using her hands as her clothing, and it's just like, okay, whatever. Oh, and then the final one, they don't even show her; they just show like part of what Rudy is painting that implies a naked rumpus, and it's just like, what is happening here? It was such a weird movie. Great, we're on to the other side. Things start moving fast here. So people start visiting the cafe. Brenda's at this, no, sorry, Yasmin has at this point like made a routine out of her magic act, and Brenda has a part in it. Brenda's like the assistant. People are starting to like be happy here. You know, Brenda, everyone was kind of stressed, and just like the general vibe was depressive, small town, like nothing to do, whatever. And now like people are happier. And it shows two truckers in this one scene going down a big highway, like looking at each other as they like yell stuff over the CB radio, talking about like how at Bagdad Cafe there's a magic show that's like really actually quite good. We got to go there sometime. And so, you know, word's getting around. The cafe like usually has, you know, one or two people in it in the past, but or maybe honestly just no people other than the regulars. And now like suddenly people are showing up, and it's like, oh, this is actually a busy place. And Brenda's the assistant and like smiling and like a changed person, which seems like fast development, but honestly, it didn't actually feel forced. It felt okay. It felt really good. I wrote stupid hoppy music. Oh, that must be during a one of the magic acts. They have like absurdly bouncy music going, and they show the scene where like now the cafe is like actually bustling, and the bartender has to make food and all this crazy stuff. Like they actually get to work, and as like Brenda's going around taking orders from people, very nonchalantly, like sleight of hand, Yasmin is stealing stuff out of customers' pockets. And then like later they come with a bucket and like reveal all the stuff that they stole, and everyone's just like, ah! And then there's this one dude, like for the finale of what they stole, they pull out like a toupee, and this bald dude comes over and he's like, how dare you? And then they like do something and he starts laughing too, and like everyone's having fun. It's a great time. So everyone's having a great time. People are coming. Life is good. And then that sheriff from earlier comes by, and I wrote that sheriff visits and is a buzzkill. The sheriff comes by and he's like, you definitely are here past your round trip thing, so like now you're actually doing illegal stuff. If you don't have a visa or a green card or whatever, Yasmin, you got to get out of here. And everyone's just like, and yeah, so she leaves. She's forced to leave, and like immediately, the vibe is just back down to the depressive thing it was earlier. But there is still the reminiscence of hope. Like it doesn't just full switch on, switch off, which is nice because that isn't how life would actually be, I imagine. It actually shows that like they want to keep this hope and the joy that they have, but like the catalyst for it is just gone, so things aren't right. It's really kind of poignant there, and they're like hoping Yasmin's gonna come back, whatever. And at this point, those truckers that were like talking over the CB radio, they come in and see just an empty place, and they just say like, "Hey, you guys open? Like, what's going on? Where's the magic?" And I think it's either Brenda or the bartender who says the line. This is quoted. They go, "The magic? It's gone." She's like, okay. Oh, and then just to show like how things have declined, They have Hiker Dude throw his boomerang again, something we've seen so many times. The boomerang goes around the water tower and comes back to him. This time it goes around the water tower. You know what's happening. It actually comes around and like looks like it's going to come back to him, but then just whips right inside and hits the water tower and falls. And it's just like, brother. Oh, and I wrote, even Sal from afar is bummed. So Sal is still sitting in this car with binoculars, and he's just like, that's the way it goes. That's the way the wind blows, brother. It's so wacky. And then Yasmin returns. They see her like walking from a distance in like all white. I wrote it as like Gandalf the White returning, and Brenda sees from afar, and just like they do the trope of like they both get somewhere from a distance, like, you know, 20 yards, and they just wait, and you got the wide pan, and you see them just staring at each other, and then they run up to each other. Brenda and Yasmin, now essentially best friends. Upon Yasmin returning, the sex worker almost immediately like has all her bags together and leaves, saying, I did not quote her, but saying that she's leaving because there's too much harmony. Too much harmony. So maybe this is actually like an allegory now that I think of it. Maybe every single character represents like one of the 7 deadly sins. I don't know. Then we have this big production, or like just at the end of the movie, a big production magic show. Like we've got a stage setup, we've got costumes, we've got floating canes to show like, you know, fun thing. And we've got a musical number that's now happening. Like Yasmin and Brenda are singing beautifully. It's mainly Brenda singing. And then the audience is singing too, like these truckers in these cute flannels and jeans. Like they're singing along and like getting up on stage and dancing. It's just like, what is going on? I wrote audience participates in musical, where people say they went... Oh, yeah. There's some line in the musical like talking about why truckers would come to the Bagdad Cafe. And one line the truckers are like, because of Phyllis. Because we want to sleep with Brenda's daughter. And it's just like, what is going on here? It's so freaking weird. We get some nice, really high soprano stuff from Brenda. And then Yasmin finally starts participating, and she's like essentially rapping in German, and it's kind of fun. Sal visits, because I guess he can't see this from his binocular view from afar, and he's just like walking around like, what's going on in here? And he's crazy. So he's shocked. And yeah, they don't actually show a reunion between, look at this, hour 20 minutes. They don't show a reunion between Brenda and Sal. The next scene is Rudy coming over to Yasmin's apartment. Oh, it's actually kind of, I guess it's cute. She's in like not a nightgown, but like, you know, back in the day people used to, if they weren't wearing their formal clothes at home, they just like wear a gown. She's just wearing like a white gown. And so she like cracks the door, sees Rudy. Rudy's got a flower. And she says, let me change into something, like into my clothing. And she like closes the door and goes to like the closet, stands there for a second, doesn't change, and then like goes back to him and lets him in, which, yeah, she's saying something with that. Rudy comes in very nervous, always confident in the past, but very nervous, hands her the flower and like sits down and just starts explaining mansplaining, if you will, to Yasmin how like, well, if you're going to be here for a long time, like you want to be here for a long time, right? And she's like, yes. And he starts asking a bunch of stuff and her answers are like just, yes. And he's like, well, you're going to need like, you know, a green card to like stay here longer. And she's like, yes. And eventually, finally, he like gets at, will you marry me? And you know, she said yes, 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 over and over again. Instead of saying yes to this, they started playing Calling You by Javetta Steele, which is really perfect. Instead of saying yes, Yasmin, it just shows close-up of her, she just says that she's going to talk it over with Brenda, and that she'll let him know, and then credits roll. And it was like, okay, there's the movie. And Calling You, rolling through this, the song, the lyrics are like basically describing the plot of the movie, if I recall correctly. It's really beautiful. It's like melodic or harmonic minor stuff. No, what is it? I don't remember how to sing. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Got that kind of feel. Yeah, so that happens. Rated PG, don't know how. It's a really cool dream. I just read my note about the coin dream. It's a really cool movie. It's super strange. I want to watch it again probably sooner than later just to see like what I take away from it a second time around. It really sweet story about relationships, I guess. A lot of very strange stuff in it, but the fact that it just like generally feels like it's going for an absurdist vibe and surreal in many ways, it's like, okay, I respect what they're going for. Everything is very kooky, kacky, quickety quacky. I like it. I'd made some, were those valid notes? Comically fast-paced shots, that was at the beginning, in Dutch angles and chaos. Yeah, they just keep a unexpected vibe. But it's a really sweet story about relationships, and yeah, just these weird characters that find whatever the back says, who find paradise off the beaten track. With my normal 5-star rating, where 3 is this is a movie just like many other movies, and 1 is don't bother watching, and 5 is the best movie I've ever seen. On this first watch through, I'm gonna put it at like a, I don't know, 4.1, 4.2. I feel like it could potentially be a really good movie. I want to rewatch it though. I don't know, it might be more in the 4.5 region. I will probably never give a movie a 5. So like truly the scale, like if it starts at 3 for a movie just being good, then like 4 is like, okay, you should watch this movie. And like 4.5 is like, okay, yeah, this is something. Yeah, 4.3, 4, 4.4, I don't know. I'm no Dave Portnoy where like I say a number and I stick with it. I can change. A man can change. It's a fun movie. If y'all get the opportunity to watch it, watch it. It's really strange. Really strange.